Hey guy, welcome back to Sleep Among Titans. Tonight we leave the world of strategy and empires behind. We are seeking a much quieter, more personal corner of the past. Allow your surroundings to begin to fade. Allow the sounds of your room to soften. We are going to drift back in time together, to a place and a moment where history was measured not in great events but in quiet heartbeats. It begins with a sound. The gentle, persistent drumming of rain on canvas, a rhythm that seems to have no beginning and no end. This is the first thing you are aware of. You are in Lorraine, France. The year is 1944. You find yourself lying on a simple cot, the world contained within the thin, sloping walls of a medical tent. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth of wool and the faint, clean smell of antiseptic. It is a smell of care, of respite. You can feel the rough, comforting texture of a wool blanket pulled up to your chin. A deep-seated weariness rests in your bones, but the fever, your unwelcome companion for days, has finally broken. It has left behind a strange and quiet clarity. This is where our story begins, not with a battle, but in the peaceful aftermath of a small personal struggle. From this quiet place, we will slowly explore the world outside this tent. We will feel the cold, familiar weight of a rifle in our hands. We will discover the stories held within a thin, fragile piece of paper sent from home. And we will come to understand the silent war fought not against an enemy, but against the cold, the damp, and the endless mud. But for now, there is nothing else you need to do. Just rest. Allow the sound of the rain to be your guide, and listen. Before we continue, a quick question for you. Since we're sending you to a muddy field in France, I'd love to know where you're actually listening from. Drop a quick comment below with your city or country. It's always awesome to see where this community is tuning in from. Alright, let's dive deeper into this lovely French countryside we find ourselves in. So you're lying there feeling slightly less like death warmed over, which, let's be honest, is a win in anyone's book. Especially when anyone is you, a guy who probably just wants a decent cup of coffee and a newspaper. But no, you get muddy boots and the lingering ghost of a fever. Such is life. Right now, this whole Lorraine 1944 thing might sound vaguely historical, but let me paint you a picture. Imagine the most underwhelming travel brochure you've ever seen. Think gray skies, fields that have given up on being green, and trees that look as tired as you feel. That's the vibe. This isn't exactly the French Riviera, more like the French part that's currently serving as a giant soggy speed bump for the Allied advance. And speaking of soggy, let's talk about the mud again, because it deserves its own billing. This isn't your playful backyard puddle situation. Oh no. This is a thick, clinging, almost sentient sludge. It's the kind of mud that steals your boots when you're not looking, the kind that adds about 10 pounds to each foot, making every step feel like you're auditioning for a very slow-motion ballet. You'll get to know it intimately, trust me. You'll find it in your socks, in your food somehow, and you'll probably dream about it. But hey, it's not all bad, sort of. In between the mud and the existential dread, there are things. You might get a letter. Imagine that, a tiny piece of home making its way across an ocean and a continent, probably smelling faintly of your mom's perfume, and definitely feeling like the most precious thing you've held in months. We'll see what that brings, won't we? And then there are the other guys. Silas over there snoring like a chainsaw convention. He's a quiet fella, a farmer from Oklahoma who probably knows more about dirt than even this French mud does. You haven't said much to each other, but you've seen things. That counts for something, right? We'll definitely be spending some quality silent time with him later. So yeah, you're not exactly storming the beaches anymore. This is the in-between stuff. The waiting, the slogging, the quiet moments that somehow stick with you longer than the loud ones. Get comfy. We've got a whole soggy landscape to explore. The first thing you notice isn't a sound or a sight. It's the cold. It's a different kind of cold than the one you went to sleep with. This isn't the feverish, bone-deep chill that makes your teeth chatter while you're sweating through your uniform. No, this is a clean cold, an honest cold. It's the simple, damp chill of a late autumn morning in a tent in the middle of nowhere, France. And in a strange way it feels good, it feels real. The fever dream has broken. You're back. Welcome to the world. You lie still for a moment, taking inventory. Your head doesn't feel like it's stuffed with cotton and railroad spikes anymore. Your muscles still ache with a deep, profound weariness, but it's the ache of recovery, not sickness. You pull the scratchy wool blanket a little tighter. It offers less warmth than it does a psychological barrier against the morning. You can hear the symphony of the sleeping army around you, a cough from 2 cots down, the rustle of a man turning in his sleep, and always, the steady, monotonous patter of rain on the roof. It's the soundtrack to your life now. All right, enough of this luxury. Time to face the day. You swing your legs over the side of the cot, and the simple act sends a protest through your entire body. Your feet clad in damp socks you haven't taken off in, well, you've lost track, hit the cold, packed earth floor. The shock of it jolts you fully awake. You sit there for a second, a grunt in long underwear, hunched over in the dim gray light filtering through the canvas, and you just breathe. You're alive. You're not sick anymore. That's a victory. In this world, you take your victories where you can get them, no matter how small. The next step in rejoining the human race is coffee. Now let's be very clear. When I say coffee, I am using the term in its absolute loosest definition. What you get is a dark, bitter liquid, scooped from a massive, perpetually simmering pot, served in a metal cup that burns your hands but somehow fails to keep the contents hot for more than 30 seconds. It's gritty. It has a strange, smoky taste from being brewed over a green wood fire. It is by all civilian standards a war crime in a cup. But you drink it. You cradle the warm metal in your hands and you drink every last drop. Because it's warm, it has caffeine, and most importantly, it's a ritual. It's a signal to your body and your brain that a new day has started. It's a pathetic little slice of normalcy in a world that is anything but normal. With the ghost of coffee on your tongue, you turn to the real task of the morning, the most important ritual of all. You reach under your cot and your fingers find the familiar cold steel. You pull it out. Your M1 Garand, 9.5 pounds of American-made wood and metal. It's your lifeline, your responsibility, your constant heavy companion. You've been separated from it for 2 days while you were in the fever, and leaving it unattended felt like leaving a part of your own body behind. You find a relatively dry spot on the edge of your cot, lay out your cleaning kit, a small roll of cloth, containing rods, brushes, patches, and a little can of solvent, and you get to work. Your hands move with a life of their own. You don't need to think about the steps anymore. They're carved into your muscle memory. Click. The trigger guard unlatches with a firm, practiced motion. The whole trigger assembly comes out in one solid piece. You set it aside. You slide the beautiful worn walnut stock off the receiver. You know every single scratch and dent on this piece of wood, probably better than you know the lines on your own father's face right now. The action is exposed now, the guts of the machine. The operating rod, the bolt, the spring, they all come apart with a series of familiar movements. In less than a minute, the rifle that was a single deadly object is now a collection of harmless, greasy parts laid out before you. There's a strange satisfaction in this deconstruction. It's a puzzle you've solved 1,000 times. Now the cleaning. You dip a patch in solvent, and the sharp chemical smell fills the air around you. It's a clean smell, a smell of purpose. You run the patch through the barrel, and it comes out black with carbon fouling. You do it again and again until it comes out clean. You meticulously wipe down every single component. The bolt face, the grooves of the operating rod. You use a small brush to get into the hard-to-reach places, scrubbing away the grime, the mud, the moisture, the enemies of function. This isn't just about maintenance. This is about control. You can't control the rain. You can't control the enemy. You can't control where the army sends you tomorrow. But you can control this. You can make sure this piece of machinery is perfect. In a world of complete and utter chaos, this rifle is your one piece of reliable, predictable order. Your relationship with it is simple: you take care of it, and it will take care of you. It's the most honest partnership you have. And you think about its quirks, its sheer weight, its ruggedness, and that sound, that famous, beautiful, terrifying ping it makes when the 8-round en bloc clip is ejected. A beautiful sound when it means the fight is over and you've won. A terrifying one when you're still in the thick of it, because you're empty, and you can be damn sure the guy across the field heard it too. Finally, it's done. Every piece is clean, lightly oiled, and ready. Reassembly is faster, more satisfying. The pieces slide back together with a series of solid, reassuring clicks and thunks. You slide the stock back on, lock the trigger guard into place, and work the action once. It's smooth, perfect. You hold it for a moment, the finished product. It feels different now. Heavier, with purpose. You haven't fired a shot, but you've fought a battle. You've pushed back the chaos. You've done your job. You're no longer just a patient, you're a soldier again. And just as that thought settles in your mind, a voice cuts through the rain from outside the tent. A welcome sound you haven't heard in days. Mail call, line up for mail call. Your head snaps up. Mail. A connection to that other world. Maybe today's the day that letter you've been waiting for finally arrives. Maybe today you get to hold a piece of home in your hands. Mail call. 2 words. That's all it takes. 2 words shouted by a corporal with a waterproof bag slung over his shoulder, and the entire molecular structure of the camp changes. The weariness, the boredom, the low-grade misery that hangs in the air, like a fog, it all just evaporates. It's like a switch has been flipped. Men who were practically catatonic a minute ago are suddenly animated, their eyes bright. It's the only time you'll see a group of hardened soldiers, men who have seen and done things they'll never speak of, act like a bunch of 6-year-olds on Christmas morning. You're fumbling for your boots, jamming your feet into them without even thinking. You don't care about the mud now. You slosh out of the tent and join the disorganized mob, converging on the male corporal, who has wisely positioned himself on the steps of the command tent, giving him a slight height advantage over the desperate masses. For the next 10 minutes, this guy, Corporal Kowalski, a pimply kid from New Jersey who you wouldn't trust to boil water, is the most powerful man on the Western Front. He holds all the hope in the world in that canvas bag. You find your spot in the crowd, trying to act casual, nonchalant. You fold your arms. You lean against a nearby Jeep. You're just here for the show, right? Total lie. Your heart is doing a drum solo against your ribs. Every soldier here is a master actor in this specific play. Kowalski starts calling out names, his voice flat and unimpressed by the gravity of his task. Henderson, O'Malley, Schwartz. With each name, a guy lets out a whoop, pushes his way forward, snags his letter, and retreats like a squirrel with a prized nut, finding a private corner to devour it. For every whoop of victory, there are a dozen silent sighs of disappointment. You watch men's faces fall as the pile in the bag gets smaller. You feel a pang of sympathy immediately followed by the selfish, desperate prayer, "Please let there be one for me." Miller Rodriguez Thompson. The pile is shrinking. The fear is starting to creep in, cold and sharp. Maybe nothing came. Maybe your letters aren't getting through. Maybe they've forgotten Arthur Kowalski barks your last name. Just Arthur, not your first name. There's no room for pleasantries here, but it's the most beautiful sound you've ever heard. A wave of pure, uncut relief washes over you. You push forward, trying not to look as pathetically grateful as you feel. He shoves a small, flimsy piece of paper into your hand. It's not a thick, reassuring envelope. It's a single folded sheet. V-mail. You don't read it here. You never read it here. This is a private sacrament. You retreat, finding your own sanctuary on the edge of your cot, turning your back to the entrance of the tent. You unfold it carefully. And here's the thing about V-mail, or victory mail. It's a little piece of wartime ingenuity, a ghost of a letter. See, your sister Sarah back in Ohio didn't write on this specific piece of paper. She wrote her letter on a special form, a combination of letter and envelope. At the post office, that form was opened, photographed, and shrunk down onto a roll of microfilm the size of a thumbnail. That tiny roll, containing maybe 1,000 letters, was then flown across the Atlantic. It saved a literal ton of cargo space that could be used for bullets, beans, and boots instead of mail. Then, at a processing station somewhere behind the lines in England or France, your sister's tiny image was projected onto photographic paper, the very piece you're holding now. Her familiar looping handwriting is there, but it's miniaturized, slightly fuzzy. It's her words, but they've been on an incredible journey. They were turned into light shot through a lens and resurrected on paper just for you. It's a miracle of logistics and technology, all to deliver a little slice of home to a muddy field in France. You start to read, and the contents are beautifully, painfully, wonderfully boring. She tells you that their neighbor's calico cat, Patches, had a litter of 5 kittens in the laundry basket. She describes them in meticulous detail. She says she went to see a movie, Going My Way, with Bing Crosby, and she thinks you'd like it. She mentions that the big maple tree in the front yard is a blaze of red and orange right now, and the air is getting crisp in the evenings. Your mom, she writes, is knitting you another pair of socks. She's worried your feet are cold. You look down at your mud-caked boots and let out a short, quiet laugh. If only she knew. Your dad is working double shifts at the factory, proud as hell of you, and tells you to keep your head down. The letter ends with, "We miss you more than words can say. Come home safe. Love, Sarah." And as you read the tent, the rain, the war, it all melts away. For a few precious moments you are home. You can see that maple tree. You can picture the kittens climbing all over each other. You can almost hear Bing Crosby crooning from the speakers of the local cinema. You're reading about a world where the biggest drama is a new litter of kittens, and it is the most comforting thing you have ever known. This is why you're here. Not for the grand speeches or the flags. You're here for this. For the boring, beautiful, simple right for a cat to have kittens in a laundry basket in a peaceful home. You read the letter again, and then a third time, memorizing the words. You fold the single sheet of paper with the reverence of a priest, folding a sacred text, and tuck it into the breast pocket of your shirt. A thin shield of paper and love against the cold. You look up. The world filters back in. The gray light, the smell of mud. You see a few other guys reading their own letters, faint smiles on their faces. Then you notice Silas, the quiet farmer from Oklahoma, sitting on a crate by himself. He's just staring at his big, calloused hands. He didn't get any mail. An ache of sympathy hits you. You know that empty, forgotten feeling. You make a mental note. Later, you'll go sit with him. You won't say much. Maybe you'll offer him a cigarette. He'll understand. In this world, that's how you look out for each other. The letter mentioned your mom's socks. It makes you think about the things that actually matter out here. The real currencies of survival, not money, not medals, but a dry pair of socks, a bar of chocolate from a Red Cross package, the small tangible comforts that make one more day, one more night bearable. So there you are. Your letter, that little folded up miracle of paper and hope, is safe in your breast pocket. It feels like a warm spot against your ribs, a private sun. The initial joy of receiving it has settled into a quiet, bittersweet hum. It's a feeling that makes you feel both full and empty at the same time. Full of love from home, and empty because home is an entire world away. Your eyes drift across the muddy expanse of the camp, this temporary city of canvas and misery. And you see him, Silas. He's sitting on a discarded ammo crate, right where you saw him before the mail call scrum. He's just there, staring out at nothing in particular. He didn't get a letter. You know this because you were watching. Not in a nosy way, but in the way everyone watches everyone here. It's a silent census of hope and disappointment. Silas is an interesting character. He's from Oklahoma, and you know this not because he told you, but because you heard him mumble it to a sergeant once. He has the lanky, stoic build of a man who spent his life working under a wide-open sky. His hands are huge and look like they could fix a tractor or calm a nervous horse, but they look clumsy and out of place holding a rifle. He's a man of the earth, currently misplaced in a world of mud. He doesn't talk much. In a place filled with nervous chatter, boasts, and complaints, Silas's silence is a landmark. It's as solid and real as a boulder. You don't make a conscious decision. Your feet just sort of start moving. You push yourself up from your cot, slosh through the familiar muck, and head towards him. There's no plan in your head. No, I should go cheer up poor Silas. That would be insulting. He doesn't need your pity. But there's an unspoken rule out here. You don't let a man sit alone for too long after a disappointing mail call. It's just not done. You stop a few feet from him. He doesn't startle. You get the feeling nothing much startles Silas. He slowly turns his head, his eyes meeting yours. They're not sad, they're not angry, they're just calm, accepting, like a farmer looking at a sky that promises no rain for a month. It is what it is. He gives you a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. It says, "I see you." You nod back. "I see you too." And then you perform the most sacred ritual of frontline diplomacy. You pull out your pack of lucky strikes. It's a little crumpled, a little damp, but it's more valuable than gold. See, out here, cash is mostly useless. What are you going to buy? But cigarettes. Oh, cigarettes are the coin of the realm. A single cigarette can get you a better bit of food from a cook. A few can get your buddy to take your watch for an hour. A whole pack is a statement of wealth, and offering one for free is a statement of friendship. You tap one out for yourself, stick it in your mouth, and then without a word, you hold the pack out to Silas. This is the whole conversation. You're not asking, "Want a smoke?" You're saying, "We're here in this moment together. Let's share it." He looks at the pack for a second, then at you, and with that same unhurried motion, he plucks one out. His fingers are surprisingly gentle. He doesn't say thanks. He just gives you that nod again. A different nod this time. This one says, "I accept." You light yours, cupping your hands against the damp wind. The flare of the match illuminates your face for a brief, dramatic second. Then you hold the flame out to him. He leans in, and his big hands come up to shield your own, a silent, instinctive act of teamwork. The tip of his cigarette glows red. He leans back, and then you just sit there. Two guys on ammo crates in the mud in France, smoking in complete and total silence. The first drag of smoke is sharp, hot, and welcome. You let it out in a long, slow plume. It feels like you're exhaling the tension you didn't even know you were holding. And in the quiet, you're not talking about 1,000 things. You're not talking about the war, or the fear, or the girls back home, or the letter in your pocket, or the lack of a letter in his. The silence is a container for all of that. It's a space where all those feelings can exist without being awkwardly poked and prodded by words. The real communication is in the shared action, in the slow burn of the tobacco. You're both looking out at the same bleak landscape, the same gray sky, the same skeletal finger of a church steeple in a village a mile away. You're sharing the same view, the same cold, the same thought. This is our life right now. This is a friendship that isn't built on shared histories or common interests. It's forged in shared presence. It's the simple, profound knowledge that this other human being next to you understands completely and without question exactly what you're going through, because he's going through it too. The cigarettes burn down, marking the time. They get short hot against your fingers. The ritual is coming to its natural conclusion. Silas takes one last long drag. He looks at the glowing ember for a moment, then drops the butt to the ground and crushes it under the heel of his boot. The little red light is extinguished. He looks at you. One last nod. This one is final. It says, "All right, time to go." He stands up, gives a little stretch that seems to unfold his entire lanky frame, and he just walks away. No "see you later," no "thanks for the smoke." The transaction is complete. You've exchanged maybe 4 nods and 0 words, but you've had a more meaningful conversation than most people have in a week. You're alone again, but you feel less alone than you did before. As you sit there, you notice a flicker of movement in the window of a half-destroyed farmhouse on the edge of the camp. A curtain or a rag used as a curtain twitches, and you're reminded that you're not just in a military camp. You're in someone's country. You're in someone's backyard. People are still living here. What do they think when they see you, a foreign soldier sitting on an ammo box? Are you a hero, a liberator, or just another man with a gun in a long line of them? It's a strange feeling to realize your battlefield is someone else's home. Your gaze falls to the ground, and you see a brass shell casing lying in the mud near your boot. It's dented, but someone has started scratching a pattern into the side with a nail or a knife tip. Trench art. It's what you do to fight the war's most relentless enemy, boredom. It's the need to create something, anything, in a world that's all about destruction. You wonder about the soldier who started it. What was he trying to make, and where is he now? The memory of Silas and his silent companionship fades as the gears of the army grind on. You can't sit around and be philosophical all day. There's always work to be done. Your opportunity for the afternoon is a classic water duty. You and another guy, a fast-talking kid from Chicago named Miller, are tasked with hauling 2 empty jerry cans to a designated well on the outskirts of the nearest village and bringing them back full. It's not a glamorous job. It's not a dangerous job. It is quite simply a chore. Most of war, you've discovered, isn't what you see in the movies. It's not a constant stream of heroic charges and desperate last stands. It's about 99% sheer soul-crushing boredom and manual labor, and 1% pure gut-liquefying terror. Right now, you are firmly, deeply submerged in the 99%. Every step is a negotiation with the mud. The empty metal cans knock against your legs with an annoying hollow clang. The sky is the color of a dirty dish rag. This, you think, is the real engine of war, tired young men hauling things from one place to another. As you approach the village, the scenery becomes even more grim. These aren't just fields and trees anymore. They're houses, or what's left of them. Stone walls or crumbled roofs are caved in, and empty black windows stare out like the eye sockets of a skull. And it's near one of these skeletal houses that you see her. She's an old woman dressed head to toe in faded black. It's like a uniform for her generation, the women who have seen 2 world-ending wars tear through their backyards. She's bent over, moving with the painful stiffness of old age and cold weather, and she's trying to gather firewood. But she's not collecting logs. She's picking up tiny, splintered scraps of wood shards from a shattered fence post, slivers of a roof beam. Her hands, gnarled and twisted like old roots, fumble with the small pieces. It's a slow, agonizing process. Miller, your companion, barely breaks stride. He glances over and mutters, "Geez, that's rough," and keeps his eyes fixed on the well. To him, she's just part of the scenery, part of the general misery of this place. But you stop. Something about the sight, her stubborn determination, her black dress, the sheer futility of her task, it cuts through your own tired apathy. She reminds you of your grandmother trying to thread a needle in the fading light. She suddenly stops being part of the landscape and becomes a person. A real, living, breathing person, trying to survive in the wreckage of her own home. You make a decision. You call out to Miller, "Hey, I'll catch up," and hand him your jerry can. He shrugs and keeps going. And you, an American soldier with a rifle slung over your shoulder, start walking towards this old French woman. The moment she sees you, she freezes. Every line in her body goes rigid. Her back straightens, and she stares at you, her eyes wide, with a deep, primal fear. She isn't seeing you, Arthur, the 20-year-old from Ohio who used to work in a library. She's seeing the uniform, the weapon. She's seeing a symbol of the violence that did all this to her home, to her world. She has no idea which side you're on, or if it even matters. A soldier is a soldier. Seeing her fear, you stop immediately. You don't want to crowd her. You raise your hands, slowly, palms open, the universal sign, for I mean no harm. You try to give her a smile, but it feels clumsy and out of place on your face. You point a finger at the scattered wood on the ground. Then you point to the tiny, pathetic pile she's managed to gather. You don't have the words. You have no idea how to say, "Ma'am, can I give you a hand?" in French, so you just mime it. You pretend to pick up a few sticks and place them on the pile. She just stares at you. Her dark, weary eyes are searching your face, trying to understand, trying to calculate the risk. Is this a trick? Is he mocking me? The silence stretches out thick and heavy. You can hear your own heartbeat. Then something in her expression softens. A flicker of something. Trust, resignation. Maybe she's just too tired to be scared anymore. She gives you a slow, shallow nod. Permission granted. For the next 10 minutes, you work in complete silence. Your youthful strength feels almost obscene here. You easily snap larger pieces of splintered board over your knee, creating a pile of usable firewood in seconds. You move through the debris, gathering armfuls of wood, your boots crunching on broken roof tiles. You are methodical, efficient. You are a soldier trained to perform tasks. And right now the task is this. It feels strangely purposeful, more real and more useful than digging a trench or cleaning your rifle. You are a man built for destruction, and in this moment you are building a wall against the cold for a stranger. When you're done, there's a respectable pile of wood stacked neatly against the wall of her ruined house. Enough to last her for days, maybe a week. You dust off your hands on your trousers and look at her. You give a nod as if to say, "There you go." She looks at the pile of wood, her eyes taking it all in. Then she looks back at you. The fear is gone, replaced by a profound, weary gratitude. She reaches deep into a pocket of her black dress, and her hand emerges holding something. It's an apple. Small, a little bruised on one side, but unmistakably a fresh apple. A treasure in this world of canned rations. She holds it out to you. It's a payment, a gesture of trade, and your first instinct is to refuse, to wave your hands and say, "No, no, please, you keep it." But you look at her face. It's full of a fierce, unbreakable pride. She is not a beggar accepting charity. She is a woman engaging in a transaction. To refuse her gift would be to steal her dignity, to make her powerless. So you reach out and take the apple. It feels cool and solid in your hand. You look her in the eye and say one of the few French words you know. "Merci." Thank you. She says something back, a quick stream of soft, unintelligible French. But you understand the tone. And then for the first time, a genuine tiny smile touches her lips. It transforms her face. You turn and walk away, the apple feeling as heavy as a medal in your hand. As you pass the house, the wood came from you, glance inside the blown-out wall. You see a room open to the elements, like a sad dollhouse. A blackened fireplace, a rectangle of faded wallpaper where a photograph once hung. You think about the life that was lived in that room. The dinners, the arguments, the laughter. Where did all that go? You reach the well, and Miller is there looking impatient. He's filled both cans. "About time," he grumbles. "Sergeant was just here looking for you. Said there's a patrol going out tonight. Clearing the old schoolhouse down the road. Guess whose name is on the list?" And just like that, the simple, peaceful moment is over. The apple in your hand suddenly feels very fragile. The war, which had receded for a few precious minutes, comes crashing back in. It's always there waiting to claim you. Guess whose name is on the list? Miller's words hang in the air, and the simple peace you'd found after your encounter with the old woman evaporates like a phantom. The apple in your pocket suddenly feels absurdly heavy, a relic from a different man's life, a life you lived about 90 seconds ago. Now there's only the cold, hard reality of the new task, a night patrol. The mood shifts instantly. This isn't the tired routine of hauling water or the quiet ritual of cleaning a rifle in presumed safety. This is the real deal. This is the sharp end. You and the 5 other guys on the list go through the pre-patrol checklist, a deadly serious catechism. You check your ammo clips, counting the rounds by feel. You tape down the sling on your rifle so it doesn't rattle. You check your grenades, making sure the pins are secure. You shift your weight, listening for any jangle or squeak from your gear. Silence is your armor in the dark. The gallows humor starts, as it always does. It's a defense mechanism, a way to whistle past the graveyard you might be walking into. "Hey Arthur," a guy named Chen whispers with a grin. "Since you're feeling so good after your sick day, you get to carry the extra bandolier, right?" "Sure," you whisper back. "Only if you agree to write my girl for me if I trip over my own feet out there." "Can't," Chen says. "My handwriting's terrible. It's all a stupid necessary dance to keep from thinking about what you're actually about to do. Walk through the dark in enemy territory hoping you see them before they see you. The war doesn't care about your profound moment with the apple. It has a schedule to keep. As dusk bleeds the color from the world, you move out. You slip out of the relative safety of the camp, like ghosts melting into the landscape of ruins and skeletal trees. Your world shrinks to a tiny claustrophobic bubble. There's the back of the sergeant in front of you, the squelch of your boots in the mud, and the frantic pounding of your own heart. Your senses are dialed to 11. Your hearing becomes so sharp you can practically hear the worms in the dirt. Every snap of a twig is a rifle bolt closing. Every rustle of leaves in the wind is the whisper of a German command. Your eyes strain in the gloom, trying to turn shadows back into ordinary objects, but your brain keeps insisting that that strangely shaped bush has a helmet on it. You walk with your rifle in the low ready position, the cold metal a familiar terrible comfort in your hands. Your objective looms ahead, the old schoolhouse. It's a 2-story stone building, darker than the night sky behind it. Intelligence says it's empty, but intelligence is a very optimistic word for a rumor from a farmer who heard it from his cousin. You're the confirmation. Your job is to go knock on the door, so to speak, and make sure no one is home. You reach the building and stack up by the door, a silent line of shadows. The sergeant gives a series of hand signals that you all understand as clearly as spoken words. 2 men go to the back. 2 cover the windows. You and the sergeant take the door. He gives you a nod. You kick the door. The sound is explosive in the silence, a loud crack, followed by the groan of rotten wood. You're through it in a second, moving left, your rifle up, sweeping the entryway. The sergeant goes right. The room is empty. The whole squad funnels in, each man taking a corner, a hallway, a staircase, a fluid and deadly dance you've practiced 100 times. The place smells of decay, damp plaster mildew, and the dry, dusty scent of old paper. Moonlight streams through the shattered windows, painting the rooms in long, eerie stripes of silver and black. You move from room to room, a ghost in a ghost house. It quickly becomes clear that intelligence was right this time. The place is abandoned. You can feel the collective tension of the squad release by a fraction of an inch. Shoulders drop slightly. Breaths are let out a little more easily. You find yourself in what must have been the main classroom. Desks are overturned, chairs are smashed. Papers and torn books litter the floor like giant confetti. A large blackboard still hangs on one wall, a ghostly canvas of half-erased equations and words. And that's where you see it. In the corner of the room, on a small wooden desk that has somehow survived the chaos, sits a notebook, a child's exercise book, a cahier. It's open. You feel a pull, an inexplicable curiosity. While the others are making sure the closets are empty, you drift towards it. You click on your flashlight, but you keep the beam pointed low, just a small circle of light on the desk. The notebook is open to a page of handwriting practice. Near the top of the page, a teacher has written a name in perfect, elegant cursive Marie. Below it, in the looping, unsteady scrawl of a child learning to master a pen, the name is copied over and over. Marie, Marie, Marie. Each attempt is a little better, a little more confident than the last. And at the bottom of the page is a drawing. It's a simple, universal child's drawing. A crooked, boxy house with a triangle for a roof. There's a chimney with curly smoke coming out. And in the corner of the page, there's a big bright sun with lines radiating outwards. And the sun is smiling. You just stare at it. The smiling sun. This tiny crayon yellow beacon of pure, undiluted innocence. It's so profoundly out of place in this cold, dead room, illuminated by a soldier's flashlight in the middle of the night. This isn't a military objective. This isn't a ruin. This was a child's classroom. A little girl named Marie was sitting right here in this very spot, learning to write her name, dreaming of her sunny, happy home. And then one day, the world ended. The war came and smashed her windows and overturned her desk and sent her running. The sergeant's voice cuts through your thoughts, a harsh whisper from the doorway. All clear, let's move out in two. You have an impulse you don't understand. You reach out, and with fingers that feel clumsy and huge, you gently tear the page from the notebook. The sound of the paper ripping is a small, violent act in the quiet room. You fold it carefully, reverently, and slip it into your shirt pocket next to the V-mail from your sister. A letter from your world and a letter from this one. As you walk back through the darkness, your mind isn't on snipers or mines anymore. It's on that drawing, that smiling sun. It makes you look up past the ruined rooftops, up at the cold, indifferent stars scattered across the black sky, and you wonder about the sheer scale of it all. How many notebooks like this are there in this country, in the world? How many smiling suns have been left behind in the dark? It's a thought that's too big and too heavy to carry. You get back to camp without incident. The tension of the patrol drains away, leaving you hollowed out and exhausted. The quiet of the camp feels different now. Not peaceful, just empty. You're safe for the moment. But you know the night isn't over. It will play tricks on you. Every distant shout, every falling branch will be a threat until the sun comes up. You're learning to live on that knife's edge, waiting for the next alarm, whether it's real or just a ghost in your head. You're back on your cot, but sleep is a million miles away. Your body is exhausted from the patrol, but your mind is a hornet's nest. The adrenaline is still buzzing under your skin. The faces and moments of the day are playing on a loop, the quiet farmer Silas, the proud old woman with her apple, the little girl's drawing of a smiling sun. The flimsy pieces of paper in your pocket feel like they weigh 100 pounds each. The tent, which felt like a sanctuary earlier, now feels suffocating. The air is thick with the smell of 20 sleeping unwashed men. The chorus of snores and coughs that was once a comfort now just feels like noise, an intrusion on the riot in your own head. You can't stay here. You need air. You need space. Quietly, so as not to wake anyone, you slip out of your boots and slide off your cot. You pad silently past the sleeping forms and push aside the canvas flap of the tent door, stepping out into the cold, clear night. And you look up. You stop dead. The camp is dark. The fires are down to embers. The only light is from the moon, and it's a sliver. And with no other lights for miles, no street lamps, no house lights, nothing. The sky is on fire. You've never seen a sky like this. Not back home, not anywhere. It's not just a black ceiling with a few pinpricks of light. It's a universe of impossible depth and clarity. The stars aren't just white dots. They're blue and red and piercing silver. The Milky Way, which was always just a faint smudge back home, is a thick, glowing river of light, a celestial cloud of spilled diamonds splashed across the entire dome of the sky. It's terrifyingly beautiful, and in that moment, looking up at that cosmic spectacle, you feel incredibly profoundly and wonderfully small. The narrator in your head, the one that's always chattering with fear and jokes and sarcasm, just goes silent. Because what can it say? What matters down here really under the gaze of all that? Your war, this muddy field, the strategies of generals, the fate of nations. It's all just a brief, noisy little tantrum on a speck of dust. You're looking at the same stars that Roman legionaries saw when they marched through these very fields 2,000 years ago. The same stars that nameless peasants and forgotten kings looked up at. The same stars that Marie, the little girl from the schoolhouse, might have wished upon from her bedroom window. The universe just hangs there, watching silent and utterly indifferent. And that indifference is a gift. It's a release. It takes the crushing weight of your own small life and diffuses it into the infinite. It doesn't solve anything, but it puts everything in its proper place. After a while, a deep, true tiredness finally begins to settle in your bones. The peace of the cosmos has seeped into you. You turn to go back to the tent, ready at last to sleep. As you walk, your senses now calm, take in the night differently. And you hear it. A low, deep thump, thump, thump. So far away, you almost feel it in the soles of your feet more than you hear it. Distant artillery. Someone else's war, someone else's terror, just over the horizon. It's a quiet, deadly reminder that this peace you're feeling is temporary. It's a bubble, and it makes you wonder how long it will be before that sound gets closer. The cold air on your cheeks reminds you of crisp autumn nights back home. The smell of burning leaves, the taste of hot apple cider at a football game. Your mind, seeking one last piece of comfort before sleep, begins to wander back to those simple, peaceful sensations. A life you're starting to rebuild, not with wood and nails, but in your memory, piece by piece, a fortress against the chaos. You slip back into the tent, back into the small, cramped world of men, but you carry the vast, silent universe with you. You're not woken up, you are detonated. One moment you are fathoms deep in a black, dreamless sleep, the kind of exhausted peace you thought you'd never feel again. The next, your heart is trying to hammer its way through your ribs, and you're sitting bolt upright on your cot. There is no gentle transition. There is no groggy, what's going on? The training bypasses the conscious mind entirely. The whistle is a key that unlocks a primal fear deep in your brainstem. Your body knows what it means before your mind does. Threat, danger, move or die. The tent erupts into a symphony of practiced chaos. It's a storm of frantic, whispered curses, the thud of boots hitting the dirt floor, the frantic rustle of clothing, and the loud, terrifyingly final clack-clack of a dozen rifle bolts being checked. It's too dark to see anything clearly, just a mass of writhing shadows, each man an island of pure adrenaline-fueled panic. You're not thinking, your hands are. They find your boots, your helmet, your ammo belt, all laid out in a precise order next to your cot exactly for this moment. You're pulling a boot on with one hand while your other is already reaching for your garand. Someone's elbow catches you in the ribs. You slam your knee into someone else's cot. It's a clumsy, desperate ballet. The whole thing feels like a slapstick comedy routine, directed by a madman, where the punchline might be an incoming mortar round. You and 15 other guys are trying to get dressed for battle in a space the size of a walk-in closet, and you have about 30 seconds to do it. You burst out of the tent and into the cold, wet night, joining a stream of other running shadows. Your destination is your designated spot in the defensive trench that rings the camp. The mud, your constant sluggish enemy, does its best to pull you down, but the adrenaline is a powerful fuel. You barely feel your feet touch the ground. You leap into the trench, the damp earth smelling of worms and fear. You press your back against the wall, slam your helmet down tight, and peer over the parapet into the oppressive darkness. Your rifle is up, the stock pressed hard against your shoulder, your finger resting just outside the trigger guard, and then, nothing. You wait. This is the worst part. The scramble was mindless action. This waiting, this is a mind game, and your own imagination is the enemy. Your eyes are straining, trying to pierce the gloom. Every bush that sways in the wind becomes a German soldier. Every hoot of a distant owl sounds like a signal. You see entire squads of enemies charging across the field, only to blink and realize it's just a trick of the moonlight on the wet grass. Your entire world has shrunk to the 10 inches of mud in front of your face and the infinite threatening darkness beyond it. You can hear the sergeant a few yards down, his voice a low, urgent whisper into a field radio. You can't make out the words. You just crouch there, your breathing ragged, trying to make yourself as small as possible. The initial hot white flash of adrenaline begins to fade, replaced by a cold, shaky dread. You can feel the dampness of the trench seeping through the knees of your trousers. You are acutely painfully aware of how fragile you are. The minutes stretch out, each one a small eternity. You're a coiled spring wound so tight you think you might snap. Then a new voice comes down the line, passed from man to man, in a chain of relieved whispers. Stand down, all clear, stand down. You stay put for a second, not daring to believe it. Then the sergeant confirms it with a loud, exasperated sigh. All right, you heard him, stand down, back to your tents. The explanation trickles through the grumbling ranks as you trudge out of the trench. A nervous sentry, a kid on his first night on the line, saw a large dark shape moving near the western perimeter. He panicked, fired a warning shot, raised the whole damn camp. The dark shape turned out to be a cow that had wandered through a break in a fence. All of it, the heart-stopping fear, the frantic scramble, the minutes of sheer terror in a muddy ditch, was for a goddamn cow. The first feeling is relief, so potent it almost makes your knees buckle. You're not going to die tonight, but that's immediately chased by a wave of hollow, bone-deep exhaustion, and a bitter, simmering anger. The walk back to the tent is a death march. All the energy has vanished from your body. Your limbs feel like they're made of lead. The gallows humor returns, but it's sharp and angry now. Hope they shoot the cow, Miller mutters. Hell with the cow, someone else says. Shoot the sentry. You collapse onto your cot, your whole body trembling with the adrenaline aftershock. The warmth you had from your blankets is gone, and you're shivering now, soaked in a mixture of sweat and mud. And as you lie there, you can hear that other sound again, the one from before you fell asleep. That deep, rhythmic thump, thump, thump from miles away. The false alarm is over, but that sound is the real alarm, the one that never stops. A battle is happening out there just over the horizon. It makes you wonder, when does a false alarm stop being a mistake and start being a dress rehearsal? All you want in the world right now is something warm. A dry pair of socks feels like a mythical treasure. A hot drink, an impossible luxury. Your body, which was a finely tuned weapon just minutes ago now, feels like a complete stranger, shaky, weak, and traitorous. You realize how much of this war is just a quiet, desperate battle against your own physical self, a constant search for the smallest comfort to keep from completely falling apart. Sleep is a foreign country you can't get a visa for. You've been lying here for what feels like hours, your eyes wide open in the dark, listening to the camp settle back into its false peace. The false alarm is over, but your body hasn't gotten the memo. Your nervous system is still crackling a live wire in the dark. You feel like a human tuning fork, vibrating with a nameless anxiety. You try all the tricks. You try to count sheep, but they keep wandering into minefields. You try to think of nothing but your brain. That traitorous organ decides now is the perfect time to replay every mistake you've ever made, starting from kindergarten. So you give up. You stop trying to force the quiet. Instead, you focus on the only sound that seems to cut through the noise in your head. That sound from before, thump, thump, thump. It's been there all along in the background. A deep, percussive rumble that's so low you feel it in the pit of your stomach as much as you hear it. It's not a sharp crack like rifle fire. It's not the terrifying whistle of an incoming mortar. It's something older, heavier. The sound of a giant miles away, knocking patiently on the door of the world. You are listening to heavy artillery. Somewhere 10, maybe 15 miles to the east, a battery of American 105mm guns. Long toms, they call them, is firing. Or maybe it's German guns answering them. An artillery duel, the officers would call it. Such a polite, civilized term for what's actually happening. What you're hearing is the sound of industrial-scale destruction. It's the sound of tons of high explosives being delivered with mathematical precision onto a few square acres of French countryside. You're hearing the sound of forests being turned into splinters of farmhouses, being turned into dust of men just like you being erased from the earth. You try to imagine it. The flash of the guns illuminating the night sky just over the horizon, a flash you can't see from here. The deafening, earth-shattering roar that you can't hear, only this deep final echo that travels through the bedrock to find you in your cot. Each thump is the end of a story. It should be the most terrifying sound in the world, but it isn't. And here's the strange, twisted secret of being a soldier on a quiet front. The sound is comforting. It's the most messed up lullaby you've ever heard, but it's a lullaby nonetheless. Because as long as you can hear those guns as a distant rolling thunder, it means one thing with absolute certainty: the war is over there. It is not here. As long as the sound is a low rumble, it means the shells aren't screaming towards you. It's a constant audible confirmation of your own temporary precious safety. It's the logic of the foxhole, the prayer of the infantryman. Let it be there, not here. Let it be them, not me. You feel a flicker of sympathy for the poor bastards on the receiving end of that sound, but it's a distant academic sympathy. The primary feeling, the one that's washing over you now, is a profound, selfish, and deeply human sense of relief. The sound has a rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. It's predictable, it's monotonous. And your body, desperate for an anchor in this sea of anxiety, starts to sink with it. Your ragged breathing begins to slow, unconsciously matching the tempo of the distant guns. It's the heartbeat of the front line, and you are for the first time since the alarm calm. And as your body calms, your mind begins to drift. The sound is a deep bass note, and against it your memory starts to play a quiet melody. The steady rhythm reminds you of other sounds, safer sounds. The rhythmic thwack of your father chopping firewood on a cold Saturday morning. The steady thump-thump of a pile driver from a construction site down the street from your high school. The roll of thunder from a summer storm that shook the windows while you were safe and dry inside reading a book. Your mind, seeking refuge, clings to these images. It starts to build a fortress for you, not out of sandbags and steel, but out of memories. It's the only place the war can't get to, the only foxhole that's truly safe. You pull your thin wool blanket up to your chin. It's not much against the cold, but it's something, a tiny island of warmth. And you realize that in the face of that immense destructive sound out there, your entire world of comfort has shrunk to this. The feeling of this blanket, the memory of your sister's voice in her letter, the thought of the bruised apple in your jacket pocket. These aren't just things anymore, they're anchors. They are the undeniable proof that a small, good, gentle world still exists, and you are holding on to its pieces with all your might. You're not fighting the sound of the guns anymore, you're floating on it. Adrift on a river of sound, your mind escaping the cold, damp tent and retreating into the warm, safe country of the past. You're not quite asleep, but you're not really awake either. You're in the quiet limbo of a soldier at rest, waiting for whatever comes next. And you realize that's not good enough. Random memories can be treacherous. They can lead you down paths of sadness and longing you can't control. So you decide in the cold, damp dark of this tent in France to take control. You decide to do the exercise. It's a trick you've taught yourself over the past few months. A deliberate act of psychological architecture. You're not just going to remember your house, you're going to build it, from the ground up, in your mind. It's a project, a mission, and right now it's the most important mission in the world. So you close your eyes, you shut out the smell of damp wool, and the sound of men coughing in their sleep. You are no longer here. You are standing on the sidewalk in front of your home in Ohio. You start with the details, the ground beneath your feet. You can feel the slight unevenness of the concrete, the single paving stone that's raised just enough to catch your toe if you're not paying attention. You see the neat little rectangle of lawn still green in your memory, and the big maple tree that Sarah wrote about in her letter. You picture its leaves a riot of red and gold against a clear blue autumn sky. You walk up the path. 3 concrete steps to the porch. You know the top one has a small hairline crack in the corner, You step onto the wooden porch, and you can hear the familiar friendly creak of the floorboards. Your mom's wind chimes, little copper tubes, tinkle softly in an imaginary breeze. You reach for the front door. Your hand closes around the doorknob. It's heavy, solid brass, worn smooth from the thousands of times your family has passed through this doorway. It's cool to the touch. You turn it, and you hear the soft, well-oiled click of the latch. You push the door open. The first thing that hits you is the smell. Every house has a smell, and you've just walked into yours. It's a combination of things: the faint, lingering scent of your mom's cinnamon baking from yesterday, the lemon and wax smell of floor polish, and the dry, papery scent of books and old newspapers. It is, you realize, the smell of peace, the smell of safety. You step inside and close the door, shutting out the war. You're in the living room. Your eyes trace the familiar landscape, the big floral-patterned armchair where your dad sits every evening, the newspaper rustling in his hands. You can feel the lumpy cushion, the worn fabric under your imaginary fingertips. You see the stack of National Geographic magazines on the little table next to it, their yellow spines, a block of solid sunshine in the room. You move into the heart of the house, the kitchen. The floor is a black and white checkered linoleum, and you know there's a small tear in the pattern, hidden under the rug by the sink. The big white refrigerator hums a low, steady, comforting sound. You open it. You see the familiar bottle of milk, the slab of butter in its dish, a half-eaten apple pie on the middle shelf. On top of the fridge is the cookie jar, a ceramic owl with big, surprised eyes. You know with absolute certainty that inside there are 6 oatmeal raisin cookies left from the batch your mom baked on Tuesday. You can almost taste the warm, sweet, buttery comfort of one on your tongue. You leave the kitchen and head for the stairs. The dark wood of the banister is smooth and cool under your hand. You take the steps one by one. 1, 2, 3, 7. The 7th step. That's the one with the loud creak. You deliberately step on it, and you hear the familiar groan of the old wood. You're upstairs now. You walk past your parents' room, past the small bathroom, and you open the door to your own bedroom. Your sanctuary within the sanctuary. It's all here, exactly as you left it. The model airplanes you built hang from the ceiling on strings frozen in mid-flight. The Cleveland Indians pennant is tacked to the wall above your bed. Your desk is by the window, a book left open on its surface. And your bed, it's not a lumpy army cot, it's your bed. You can feel the soft, worn quilt your grandmother made, the specific density of your pillow. You lie down. You are home. You lie there in your imaginary bed, in your perfect memory-built house. The sound of distant artillery is gone. It's been replaced by the hum of the refrigerator and the gentle tick-tock of the grandfather clock in the hall. You are safe. You are at peace. Slowly, gently, you let the image fade. You open your eyes. You're back in the tent. It's still dark, still cold, still France. But something has changed. You don't feel the same despair. You feel fortified. You've just been home. You've reminded your soul what it's fighting for. The memory of that cookie jar makes your stomach give a hopeful little rumble. You haven't tasted anything that good in what feels like a lifetime. It makes you think of the actual physical comforts you do have. That single bar of Hershey's bitter chocolate from a Red Cross package you've been saving for a special occasion. Maybe tomorrow is that occasion. You start taking a mental inventory of the other small pleasures you possess: a dry pair of socks, a half-finished paperback. They're not much, but they are real. They are anchors to the physical world. And this whole exercise, this retreat into the past, feels more vital than ever tonight. Because there's a rumor, a whisper passed from a cook to a mechanic to a corporal, that this quiet time on your part of the front is about to end. That a big push is being planned. You don't know if it's true, but the thought makes this act of remembering feel less like a comforting daydream and more like a desperate necessary inventory. A final accounting of everything good and safe before the world changes again. And with that final thought, feeling the ghost of your own bed beneath you, you finally truly begin to drift off to sleep. You wake up to the familiar gray light of another day filtering through the canvas. But for the first time in a long time, you don't feel like you've been dredged up from the bottom of a lake. Your mind, having spent the night in the warm, safe architecture of your own memory, is calm. The journey home, imaginary as it was worked, you feel settled. But your body is another story. It's cold, it's sore, and it's hungry for something other than the flavorless canned misery that passes for army breakfast. Lying there, you remember the thought you had last night, the memory of your mother's cookie jar, and you make a decision. After everything, the fever, the patrol, the false alarm, you've earned it. Today is a special occasion. Today you are going to eat the chocolate bar. Now, in a world where you have absolutely no control over the big things like life, death, or the whims of generals who move you around a map, like a chess piece, you learn to exert extreme control over the few small things you do own. So this isn't just about eating a snack. This is an event, a ceremony. You don't rush. You retrieve your pack and carefully extract your prize. It's a D-ration bar issued by the U.S. Army, and you have to understand this isn't the creamy, melt-in-your-mouth Hershey's bar you'd buy for a nickel back home. The Army, in its infinite wisdom, had a problem in warmer climates. Regular chocolate melted. And more importantly, they worried that if the emergency ration was too delicious, GIs would just eat it for fun. So they commissioned a bar that could withstand high temperatures, and crucially was designed to taste a little better than a boiled potato. The result is the dense, semi-sweet, slightly waxy brick you now hold in your hand. It's a block of fortified chocolate so hard you could probably use it to knock a man unconscious. But it's chocolate, and it's yours. You find a quiet spot leaning against the wheel of a Jeep, and you begin the ritual. You slowly, carefully peel back the wrapper, savoring the sound. You don't just bite into it, you'd probably break a tooth. Instead, you take out your small pocket knife and carefully shave off a thin curl of dark chocolate. You place the tiny piece on your tongue, and you wait. You don't chew. You just let it rest there, letting the warmth of your mouth slowly dissolve it. And as it melts, a miracle happens. After weeks of bland biscuits and greasy canned hash, the flavor that floods your senses is a revelation. It's not even that sweet. It's rich, a little bitter, the deep and complex taste of pure cocoa. It's the most delicious thing you have ever eaten. You close your eyes. You make that one small, hard-won chocolate bar last for 15 minutes. It's a psychological transfusion, a reminder that pleasure still exists in the world. The chocolate was for your soul. The next comfort is for your body. It's time to change your socks. This might sound trivial, but you know it isn't. It's a matter of survival. Your feet have been trapped in the same pair of damp, muddy wool socks for nearly 2 days. They feel like cold, lifeless lumps at the ends of your legs, and the threat of trench foot is a constant nagging worry. But you have an ace in the hole. The pair of thick, hand-knitted socks your mother sent you. You've been hoarding them like a state secret, keeping them bone dry by storing them in a waterproof pouch, which you then keep inside your shirt when you sleep, using your own body heat as a guardian. The process is a sacrament. First, the struggle to pull off your stiff, mud-caked boots. Then comes the peeling off of the old socks. It's a disgusting procedure. They feel clammy and foul, and they come off with a sickly reluctance. Your feet underneath are pale, wrinkled, and dead-looking. You take a corner of your rough army blanket and dry them as best you can, rubbing life back into them. And then the moment of ascension. You take out the new socks. They are clean. They are dry. They smell faintly of home. You slide your foot into the first one. It is without exaggeration the single greatest physical sensation you have ever known. The feeling of soft, thick, perfectly dry wool enveloping your cold, damp foot is a wave of pure, unadulterated bliss. It's a feeling of immediate warmth spreading from your toes up through your entire body. It is the feeling of rescue. In this moment, with one dry foot and one to go, You are a king. You are a god. You would not trade places with General Eisenhower himself. You pull on the second sock. The ritual is complete. You sit there wiggling your warm, dry toes inside your boots, and you feel reborn. You feel invincible. It's incredible the things that become luxuries. You realize that all the grand ideas you're supposedly fighting for freedom, democracy, liberty, are all built on a much simpler foundation, the right to be warm and dry. Feeling like a new man, you do a quick inventory of your other treasures. The half-read paperback Western in your pack. The 3 extra Lucky Strike cigarettes you won in a bet. The stubby pencil and the folded precious letters in your pocket. This is the sum total of your wealth. This is your kingdom of small comforts. And as you sit there basking in the glory of your dry feet, Sergeant Davis, your squad leader, ducks into your tent. His face isn't angry or casual, it's calm, serious. He looks at you, at Silas, at the other 2 men sharing the tent. He doesn't raise his voice. "All right," he says, and the word cuts through the quiet morning air. "Listen up. Those rumors you've been hearing, they're true." He pauses, letting the weight of his words sink in. "We're moving out. Aero 400 tomorrow morning, full combat load. We're part of the push. Briefing in 1 hour." And just like that, with a few quiet words, your small, comfortable world shatters. The time for savoring chocolate and dry socks is over. The abstract threat you heard in the distant guns, the vague rumor whispered around the camp, has just become a sharp, terrifying reality with a deadline. The war has come to collect. Sergeant Davis's words hang in the tent, sucking all the air out. Briefing in 1 hour. It's not a shout, it's not an alarm, it's a quiet final sentence. And just like that, the entire world shifts on its axis. The long, monotonous chapter of waiting is over. The next chapter is about to begin, and you have a feeling it's going to be written in a much darker ink. The briefing is a surreal experience. You and the rest of the company are crowded into the command tent, shoulder to shoulder. A captain, a man with a neat mustache and tired eyes, stands in front of a large map tacked to a board. He points at it with a wooden stick. He uses a language that feels like it's from another planet. He talks about securing Objective Alpha, which is a little stone bridge over a creek. He talks about the main axis of advance, which is a muddy farm track. He talks about neutralizing enemy resistance on a piece of high ground designated Hill 78. He uses words like elements, assets, and rate of fire. It's all so clean, so sterile. He's drawing lines on a map, talking about geometry and timetables. You're looking at the same map and you're not seeing lines. You're seeing places to die. Objective Alpha is a choke point. That farm track is a perfect killing field for a machine gun. Hill 78 looks steep and exposed. You listen to the officer talk about strategy and you just think, that's a long way to walk in the mud. After the briefing, no one really talks. What is there to say? You all just disperse back to your tents, a quiet cloud of grim purpose hanging over the whole camp. Now, there is only the final preparation. You go through your gear with a new frantic intensity. Your rifle is already clean, but you clean it again. It's a prayer you perform with your hands. You lay out your ammo clips, wiping each brass cartridge, checking for any dent or corrosion. You take the extra bandoliers of ammunition they issue you, the weight of them heavy and damning over your shoulders. You hook the extra grenades onto your web belt. Each one is a dense iron promise of violence. You are systematically making yourself heavier, turning yourself from a man into a machine of war. You have to make choices. You empty your pack of everything that isn't essential. That half-read Western novel, it's extra weight. It goes. The lucky poker chip you've been carrying, superstition, won't stop a bullet. It goes. You strip yourself down to the bare necessities of survival. The only things you keep, the only things that break the rule of pure function, are the papers in your breast pocket. The V-mail from Sarah, the child's drawing of the smiling sun, they weigh nothing, and they are the heaviest things you carry. With your gear ready, you turn to your final personal affair. You have to write a letter home. You sit on the edge of your cot with a pencil stub and a flimsy sheet of V-mail paper, and you face the hardest task of all. You have to lie. You can't write, "We're going into a big attack tomorrow morning and I'm so scared I can barely hold this pencil." The army censors would cut it to ribbons, and besides, you'd never do that to them. You'd never send your fear across an ocean to land on their kitchen table. So you write a cheerful, breezy, completely dishonest letter. You write, "Things are still quiet here. The weather is getting better." A lie. "The food is pretty good." A bigger lie. "I'm staying warm, especially with those great socks you sent Mom." A truth wrapped in a lie. You tell Sarah you're looking forward to seeing that Bing Crosby movie with her when you get home. You are writing about a future you are no longer sure exists. It's a letter from a ghost sent back in time. This you think might be the bravest thing you've ever done. You're not just fighting the enemy, you're fighting the truth. You fold it, seal it, and hand it to a corporal who's collecting the last letters. You watch him walk away with it, a small prayer in your heart that it makes it home, whether you do or not. Everything is ready, your gear is packed, your letter is written, your goodbyes have been said to a piece of paper. There is nothing left to do now, but wait for the clock to tick down to Oro 400. You lie on your cot, fully dressed, your helmet on the floor beside you. Sleep is impossible. Your mind is strangely calm. The buzzing anxiety, the constant "what if" is gone. A decision has been made. A path has been set. There is a strange, dark freedom in having no more choices left to make. You glance over at Silas. He's on his cot, too wide awake, staring at the canvas ceiling. He's probably thinking of his farm in Oklahoma. He catches your eye in the gloom, and he gives you a single, slow nod. You nod back. In that one silent exchange, everything is said. Good luck. See you on the other side. Don't do anything stupid. You think about the man you were when you first got here, a scared kid who just wanted to go home. You're still a scared kid who wants to go home. But something has changed. The war isn't some big, abstract event anymore. It's a collection of small, quiet moments. The rain on the tent, the taste of bad coffee, the feel of a letter from your sister, the pride in an old woman's eyes, the silent understanding with a friend, a child's drawing of a smiling sun. These are the pieces that have taken you apart and put you back together as someone new, someone you're still getting to know. You hear the quiet shuffle of the guards, changing for the midnight watch. The clock is ticking. The long, quiet part of your war is over. The hand on your shoulder is gentle, but it feels like a jolt of electricity. A low voice cuts through the darkness of the tent. Time to go. There's no shouting, no whistles this time. The camp moves with a hushed, deadly purpose. Men emerge from tents like phantoms, their shapes bulky and unfamiliar with the full combat load. The only sounds are the soft tramp of boots in the mud, the muted clink of gear, and the low, throaty growl of truck engines idling their headlights, cutting feeble yellow tunnels through the darkness. You fall into line with your squad. You see their faces in the brief passing light, Silas's jaw set like stone. Chen, his usual grin replaced by a tight, thin line. Miller, the fast-talking kid from Chicago, now utterly silent. You're all wearing the same mask. A blank, emotionless face designed to hide the frantic, terrified boy underneath. You climb into the back of a deuce-and-a-half, the workhorse of the army. The air is thick with the smell of canvas gasoline and nervous sweat. You're packed in tight, shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee, a dozen silent men, each lost in his own private world of prayer and dread. The engine roars, the truck lurches, and you begin to move. You're on your way. The ride is a strange, dark purgatory. No one speaks. What would you say? The time for jokes and lies and bravado is over. Now there is only the rumble of the engine, the creak and groan of the truck's suspension, and the thoughts in your own head. You're near the back by the canvas flap, and you can look out. You watch the camp you've known for weeks, the place you've been sick and scared and bored, and recede into the darkness until it's gone. You see the dark silhouettes of the ruined farmhouses, the skeletal trees against the lightning sky. This landscape, which has become your entire world, is now just a memory you're driving away from. This is the moment of transformation. You can feel it. You are no longer waiting for the war. You are driving into it. Every turn of the wheels is taking you further away from the boy who traded a moment of help for an apple, and closer to the soldier who must take Hill 78. You feel a part of yourself shutting down a deliberate hardening of the heart. It's a sad and necessary thing. You can't take your softer self where you're going. Instinctively, your hand goes to your breast pocket. Your fingers touch the folded flimsy papers inside. The letter from your sister, the child's drawing of the smiling sun. You don't take them out. You just need to know they're there. A final secret touch of the world you're leaving behind. And as you sit there, Arthur, a young man, rumbling through the pre-dawn darkness of 1944, a ghost in a machine of war. Maybe you, the person listening to this, are somewhere else entirely. Maybe you are lying in a warm, safe bed. Perhaps the only sound you can hear is the gentle hum of a fan or the soft patter of rain on your own window, a world away from the rain of Lorraine. Your journey, Arthur's journey, is just beginning, filled with a terrible, unknown future. Your journey, listener, is ending for the night, heading towards the quiet certainty of sleep. And that's the strange, beautiful magic of a story, isn't it? It's a bridge. It lets us be in two places at once. It lets us feel the cold, hard reality of a soldier's fear, even from the deep comfort of our own peace. The story of what happened to Arthur on Hill 78 and the days that followed is a story for another time. But our time with him, our journey through his quiet moments, ends here in this truck on the edge of the dawn. We leave him on the threshold holding on to the small pieces of his past as he rides into his future. What we take with us is the memory that history isn't made of grand strategies and famous battles alone. It's forged in the small human moments that get left out of the books. It's about the taste of bitter coffee and the transcendent joy of a dry pair of socks. It's about the silent kindness of a stranger and the unspoken understanding with a friend. And it's about the desperate universal need to find, build, and protect a little bit of warmth in a cold, hard world. Thank you for spending this time with us and with Arthur. I hope this story has served you well. Rest easy, and good night.